Alrighty. So I'm continuing our discussion here of George Orwell, aka Eric Blair's 1984. And in this horror novel and this tragedy, our protagonist Winston Smith is living in a dystopic future, basically end of the world kind of scenario, end of the species, in the sense that the individual has been swallowed up by in a totalitarian regime where, you know, where basically everything is hidden because everything's a lie. So, you know, you remove, basically it's a story of good and evil if you completely remove evil, if you just claim that you yourself are the god, right? So you have the society run on this scheme that Winston Smith has spent his entire life trying to kind of grasp and understand himself and the world around him, and himself in contrast to the people around him who have fallen for the party in Big Brother, you know, and he tries to understand and explain the differences. And there's many things you could say as to, you know, how he kind of creates an image of this world and the types of personalities that inhabit it, right? So with Winston, you know, he's basically against Big Brother and the world as it is. And if you understand the novel, you can understand why. Because it's a horror show where everyone dies, where everyone is betrayed, where everyone is murdered, where everyone is killed, right? It's all bad. There's nothing good about it. There's no positive emotion. There's no singing. There's no laughing. There's no children. There's no family, whatever. There's no art. There's no, I mean, there are these things, but it's all run by one singular entity, the corporation state, of which Big Brother has become basically a, you know, a false idol, a fake god. And so Winston is against it, and I'm kind of getting to a point here to say, like, look, this world he lives in is total and totalizing, right? 85% of the population is the proletariat. They're a non-issue. They kind of exist at the edge of the system or outside the system, in the sense that they're not sophisticated enough to take part or compete therein. The party knows it and just lets them kind of do their own thing. But within party lines, everyone is a member of the party and everyone dies for the party, and no traitors or heretics are allowed to exist, right? Everyone is swayed to the party. They don't allow anyone to exist to ever oppose them, except where they wrote the story of the pending revolution that exists is a lure to pull out the traitors, aka Winston Smith. It turns out in this world, Winston is a traitor. Winston is what you would be called, what you would call a terrorist, right? Winston's a terrorist, and O'Brien proves it to him by, you know, basically running him down the terrorist oath. You know, are you willing to kill, murder, destroy, espionage? Are you willing to hurt everything, you know, your own people in your own state? Are you willing to do these things, you know, in the sake of, you know, to bring down Big Brother? To which Winston agrees. So by that very point, you know, look, within the society Winston lives, he's a criminal. He's the problem. Everyone else, you know, loves Big Brother. Winston, why can't you get along? Winston, why can't you get in line? Winston, why do you got so many questions? Winston, why do you make us hurt you? Winston, we do this because we love you. Won't you understand? Big Brother loves you. And if you just love him, right, everything would be okay. But see, here's the problem. You know, as O'Brien points out, Winston is the flaw in the pattern. Sorry if my camera work sucks here. I'm holding this thing by hand. Winston is the problem here, right? He's the bummer. He's the buzzkill. He's the killjoy. He's the one who's at the party just boring people. They're like, hey, we want to love Big Brother. And Winston is like, yeah, I know you people are kind of simple and childlike and doltish and you're genocidal and crazy, but, you know, you kind of see what's happening here. And they're just like, no, you know, what are you talking about? You know, they're, you know, but, you know, way more serious because they sniff out the treachery. And so anyway, with Winston Smith, you know, O'Brien keeps pointing out, look at the reality around you. This place is huge. It's Leviathan. It is civilization. It is everything. It owns you. It owns everyone. There is no free thought. There are no free people. You know what I mean? There's nothing. Everything is Big Brother. Everything is the war machine. Big Brother is a god. Yes, he's a hateful, vengeful, petty god who will kill you if you don't love him, or if you can't even, like, again, he's so insecure, you can't have a single disagreement. Now, it takes one thought, one question, not even anything, just hinting in that direction that a dumb party member might begin to sniff something out in you, because they're so simple, right? And they can't understand analogies or complex thoughts or emotions, right? So like everything is precarious there. And Winston understands that in his mind, he says, hey, if the whole world is insane and you're sane, then so long as you clung to that truth and that understanding and didn't betray it, then you were sane. However, it's the other way around. The entire world says, Winston, you're insane. What are you doing? What are you on about, Winston? You know, just get in line, Winston. You're the problem, Winston. What is your right? So I'm pointing out, right, Winston is a terrorist, right? He's a confessed terrorist. And O'Brien and the state kind of have him on that one, don't they? Right. So why is let me put it this way. Why is anyone on the protagonist's side? He's a terrorist. He's a bad person, right? He is insane. He cannot accept the reality that Big Brother is reality. Big Brother is not just reality. He's the progenitor of reality and the creator of reality and the permanent reality, because time is now frozen. There is no past. There is no future. It's all just Big Brother, right? And it's one big orgiastic, hateful cluster mess, because as Winston supposes, like, oh, you know, this is terrible what they're doing to us, the pain, the cruelty, the horror. And as O'Brien points out, you know, why should hatred be any more exhausting than love? Why should destruction be any worse than creation, or any, you know, more expensive than creation? So basically the party has civilization and mankind and humanity by the balls, and there's no getting around that. And as you can see, Winston is the insane one. So I have a question for anyone who's, first off, you have to have read the book. If you haven't read the book, you know what, don't answer, right? Read the book, then you can come answer. But my question for anyone who's read the book and who understands, is Winston insane? Or is he sane? And if he is insane, then tell me how you justify terrorism. How do you justify feeding the party exactly what it wants? How do you justify being a slave fighting with the biggest slave to ever exist? It's a slave posing as a god, but it's a slave god of the slaves. So it would make sense, right, that you have a tyrannical, impulsive, neurotic, yet, you know, with the illusion of being consistent, right? See, that's the problem, right? To look at this power around you, Big Brother is so consistent as to be apparent. How could you even argue? Isn't it obvious that he is all powerful and all encompassing? And how crazy must you be to even think you stand a chance? Why would you ever look inside or elsewhere for power or belief or faith when it is demonstrated by power and miracle around you? Look at all this. Look at those golden arches. Look at those stop signs. Look at this Cadillac. It's got all sorts of gadgets and gizmos and lights and dials no one will ever understand. You got Honky McGee behind us, and he's always around making this fine, you know, someone needs to exist to hit this finely crafted horn, right? Anyway, so my question is Winston sane? And if you think Winston is sane, explain how you justify terrorism and destruction and everything else. Tell me how the party isn't right. Better yet, how is Big Brother wrong? How is the party wrong? How could they be wrong? How could he be wrong? Anyway, thanks for listening.